I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching a new show, 86.
86.
We have been asked to watch this for a long time. We've had it in polls and it never won, but we are finally watching it. I'm really excited. Usually when people who subscribe to us, offer up suggestions for shows that they think that we'd like, and they win a poll or they do well or they show up on a poll, I end up loving the show. For this show in particular, I know nothing. The name is 86.
Yeah.
That doesn't give me any type of context other than numbers.
I can say with complete certainty, I know nothing. I couldn't even tell you what characters look like. I literally, without a doubt, know nothing. And like you said, the title gives me nothing.
Yep, that's where we're at. Since it's the first episode, though, of a new series, of a new season, we offer full length for free for everybody, and a link below is for that, as well as we offer 2-week early access. So you can watch up to episode 3 right now if you click over to our Patreon.
Wow.
But without further ado, you ready?
Yes, and we have notebooks.
Oh, yeah, we do have notebooks so we can write details down.
Yes, so we can write things.
Ready?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
It's a battle.
Are we on a train?
Bet you're all gonna die.
That's reassuring.
Not
What the fuck?
morale-boosting.
86. Is it like a squadron?
I imagine this.
Whoa.
This reminds me of Star Wars.
I've never seen that.
Are you getting scared?
I like the logo.
And the number. What a good even number. Good job.
I have no ties to the number at the moment. Ooh, okay.
Some family
Friends and
portraits.
family, yeah. I like the outfit.
White
Military
silver
strategy.
hair. Practicing our salute. Good job.
I don't think it was practice. It seems like it
to
was
the
more
flowers?
memoriam,
Oh,
right?
okay.
1 petal's gone. Anime, somebody's dead. 2, oh no. 2148, stellar year. Whoa.
85
85
districts.
districts.
Districts. It's the Hunger Games.
I bet everybody has said that. Whoa, magic! Everybody has white
Everyone
hair.
looks the same.
I wonder if it's because it's like everybody looks the same depending on the district they're in.
Like they're all related.
San Magnolia Military HQ.
That's the uniform she's wearing.
The Juggernauts.
No human injuries or fatalities.
That's
Good
good.
job.
Is that real propaganda?
It feels propaganda. Wicked Empire. Why do I feel like I can't truly believe that?
Major. Whoa.
Like a no regard for the loss of life. Or no respect.
The doll-loving princess. Elise?
Seems like she can't let go of, like, injustices.
Whoa.
Country's conscience.
Okay. Lena. I like the song. Eastern Theater Forces.
Wow.
Whoa.
The collar. What does the collar do?
気をつけてください。間もなく敵部隊が射程に入ります。万全の注意を。
昨日86に毎度のご丁寧なご対応、ご苦労なことですね。人間様。
So she directly synchronizes and works with the 86.
Yeah.
カールシュタール准将、重要拠点の防衛部隊なのですか？
Fence line 1.
第一防衛戦隊通称スピアヘッド戦。
Spearhead Squadron.
まあいわゆる精鋭部
An
隊。
ace unit.
そんな。
最年少にして少佐昇進を果たした再演がそれを。
Wow.
Prodigy.
謙遜も過ぎるといらぬ反感を買うぞ、レーナ。
すみません、ジェローム。
Uncle.
バーツラフも誇りに思ってるはずだ。自分の娘の勇姿をな。
Whoa.
その指揮を任されるのは共和国軍人としてまたとない名誉なのではありませんか？
部隊についてはまあそうなのだがね。スピアヘッド戦隊隊長機、パーソナルネームアンダーテイカー、死神と恐れられている。何しろ担当するハンドラーを壊してしまうのだそうだ。
プロセッサーがハンドラーをですか？逆ではなく。
ああ、アンダーテイカーが所属する部隊のハンドラーは担当部隊変更や退役の申請をする者がほとんどだ。突然自殺した者も。
Holy shit.
亡霊の声とやらに付きまとわれたのだそうだ。
It's like he makes them feel the humanity of it.
プロセッサーたちと交流しようとするのはもう控えなさい。
部下について知るのは指揮官の務めです。
いい加減報告書に戦死者数を記載するのはやめたまえ。公的には前線に人間はいないことに。
Officially.
戦死者は存在しない。
Is that what makes them feel better about what they do to make them seem not human?
レーナ、君は本当にバーツラフに似たな。
I wonder if that's what got him killed.
では、
But she takes it as a compliment.
第一戦区第一防衛戦隊付き指揮管制官ハンドラーに任命する。頑張りたまえ。
最後の任務まで全力を尽くします。
I love her design.
She could have been given it for a bad reason.
精鋭部隊を任されるなんて名誉だし、やりがいがあるもの。
But if
それにハンドラーを
something bad happens to everyone that gets it,
自殺した奴がいるってのは本当。スピアヘッド戦隊のハンドラーがおかしくなっちゃって。
Jesus.
自分の頭を吹っ飛ばしたのよ。
why would your uncle offer you something like this?
お疲れ様。
Could we be trying to get rid of Vaclav's daughter early?
まあ、86だもんね。実際、パラレートで気が触れるってのもありえない話じゃないけど、脳の一部を活性化して赤の他人と感覚を共有しちゃうわけだから、それに基本は聴覚しか同調してないけど、視覚まで同調したら脳が焼き切れちゃう。
Burn out
Ah.
our
活性化しすぎ
brains.
ても帰ってこれなくなるし、まともじゃないプロセッサー相手よ。パラレートで何が起こるかわからない。86ならすぐ死ぬから別にいいけど、あんたは困るでしょ。それはでも卑怯なことだわ。
Annette needs to clean up her desktop.
それじゃ使った卵本物よ。牛乳も。
Is there like a scarcity of resources and supplies? 'Cause it's wartime?
その本物は
Actually eat the real thing for once.
あいつが愛人と同棲してる家のポストに。どうしましたか、プラーデス。
That what a
どうし
transition.
ましたか。ハンドラー1よりプラーデス。やめろよ。
She really feels when they die. Because she can hear everything. How could she not feel when she can hear it all?
亡くなったプレアデスたち7人も
The other 6.
本当に残念です。
いつもお優しいお言葉ありがとうございます、ハンドラー1。それはいいニュースね。早速お悔やみ申し上げます、ハンドラー
Deepest
1。
sympathies.
それはどういう。
死神によろしく。
Oh shit.
I wonder how they feel about her being kind to them, like almost like you pity us. Like they're probably grossed out by it. Like they think it's fake.
スピアヘッドプロセッサー。
I love that.
Oh my god. I thought it was over. I was so scared. The other side of things?
This is 86. Is that the Undertaker? Using a fridge to store books?
Okay. No white hair in sight, eh?
Why are they all like kids?
It looks like they... Oh, okay. I thought they were like confessing love to one another. The handlers?
It's like they take it upon themselves to have the handlers rid of. I bet I'm gonna hurt if any of them die.
Whoa. Look at how many empty desks there are. Kuro.
We're gonna get attached to these people.
That's what we heard, right? White pig.
The hair color.
Yeah. Shin. Sheen? Okay.
Confirmation. Wow. So cool.
Shin.
Putting him out of, oh my god.
Wow. Man, and seeing the drawing on his mech. Wow.
It's like breaking off a piece of them.
I love the piano.
And they just return home.
Wow.
129 days.
This is different. This is new. You think this is the
This is
intro?
the intro, yeah. We are gonna get so attached to people in harm's way, and that is terrifying.
If anything ever happens to the
that
cat, I am not
if
watching this
anything
series.
happens to that cat.
Okay, that was 86, Season 1, Episode 1. I don't think I've ever watched a show like this. Obviously, they're not in, like, mechs. They're controlling drones, that of the Squadron of 86, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even within that, the closest thing I can think of was watching Zoids as a little kid. That's where my, like, you know, knowledge of things within this realm ends.
In that regard of, like, how the battles are transpiring and the weaponry and the way that you kind of go into battle in these mechs is something that, is new to me. But what is not necessarily new to me is this feeling of dread I have that I have been introduced to this idea that there is a battle and we are going to get to know characters that will be fighting in said battle and them dying in said battle. And I'm going to be getting emotionally invested in their humanity and their storylines and be crying when they die because how could I not? They're literally actually in harm's way. Like, characters are going to die.
My first thought when it comes to that was I thought it was really fascinating because typically in a story when you have characters that are in a big group and already have a dichotomy with one another, you have to learn what's like how they interact with each other to the point that you get comfortable enough with them that if one dies that you'd feel that emotion with them. But this is super interesting. Lena within her being the first person that I'm seeing, like a protagonist almost, having such a care for all of these dolls, as was said by one of the generals or one of the people in the building.
You're thinking of them as dolls, basically, instead of drones.
Yeah. But no, like doll loving, like rather than thinking of them like as humans who are dying, like coming already to people who she doesn't know their names or how they interact with each other. She already has that care for them that I think that will lead itself to like such like an emotional like response from not only her end and feeling the loss of people within the squadron, but the squadron's like trying to come to terms with how they handle hearing empathy and compassion, because within their like past handlers, right, it seems like through the first interaction they had with Lena, like they're already drawing the pig that she looks like or is, so that they can inevitably hang it up on the wall, tape it up on the wall with an X through it.
Sixth handler,
right?
X through it.
But it within like all of those handlers that have already passed and died, they all come like obviously horrifically biased, like you guys aren't even humans at all. I wonder if they're used to that and they have a disdain for that. I wonder if they're going to first interpret Lena's compassion as a sense of torture or like underminement, even though of course she doesn't mean it in that way at all, but like just because of how foreign that care would be to them, that they might be like, you don't actually care about us, you're just fucking with us, you know?
I think that we could see from her talking to the previous, people that she was in charge of, that they were kind of like snide with their like, oh yes, you've always been so kind to us. We're gonna, there's like a resentment there too. Like her kindness is not going to be immediately met with like, oh my God, she actually understands us. And I think that it's kind of, there's some truth there. Like, yes, she might have more care than everyone else surrounding her, but she still doesn't have a full connection or understanding of like who they are, and she's like on the cusp of it, if you will. Like, she's never actually gone to where they live. She hasn't even maybe seen them in person. Like, she is just kind of starting to develop these somewhat feelings of them that have a little more sentimentality to them than anyone else's feelings. Hence, like, doll compared to drone, it's still surface level. It's still like a plaything that you are in charge of or above, into more like a godlike compared to like something subspecies. There's still a separation there and a disassociativeness to that, but there's a little more sentimentality, a little more beauty to how it's phrased.
Yeah.
Like, you're thinking of them as you're caring for your playthings instead of like you're playing rough with your playthings. So definitely something interesting being created there, but I completely agree with the idea that it's not gonna be, her care is not gonna be immediately met well, as I don't think it should be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would not blame any of these people in District 86 that are drones and fighting in this war. I don't expect any of them to be immediately willing to have a positive relationship with someone that they see as a pig and that they see as like basically pushing them towards death and having no regard for their humanity and their life.
So do you think that there is as Annette, like I have nothing but positive feelings so far towards Annette, but it was through her that we learned about like the processors and or the ability and lack thereof to not only be able to command with audio, but why we can't visually.
Yeah.
That's immediately I'm like, okay, do you do that so you can lose further humanity from them, right? You don't see them in like see their visuals. That's another sense that you're adding. If that sense is added, it will be even more difficult to disassociate from them as human beings. But I'm like, okay, well, I don't think Annette would like lie with that motive so far, but I wonder within the government or the system if there is that intentional lack of ability to do that, you know?
That brings me to a couple things I would want to read that I quickly wrote down. I was like, caring for people you can only hear. That idea that like how much can you really care for someone if you're just hearing them? You're able to still kind of disassociate a little more, but you still understand that it's a life because you're hearing it, but there's still a distance there in terms of like how crazy would it actually drive you? If we think about what the Undertaker is doing to his handlers, he's driving some of them to suicide. They're hearing voices. It's almost like pushing the idea of being able to hear someone and putting it like even more so into the mental of these handlers and driving them crazy. And I wrote down like a way to make war feel good to the common people is the idea of like ignorance is bliss. If we say that the people that are fighting are actually like not human, we say no human fatalities in our war reports every time, people are going to feel very favorably about how the war is going.
Yeah, so is your interpretation of previous handlers killing themselves out of guilt?
I don't know. I wouldn't say it's out of guilt necessarily.
What would you think it would be? Like that was one of the big like question marks coming out of the episode. Like what, assuming that a lot of these people do look at them as non-human, what could a non-human say to somebody with that perspective that could drive them to like that's like I'm so interested to figure out.
The only direction I could like fathom at the moment is the guilt route.
Yeah.
Like to actually effectively achieve making them feel remorseful or feel connected to these voices that they have been told to think of as just inhuman drones.
That because like, and that's like a hard sell for me initially because of how far gone some of these people seem to be. I do want to talk about how the people within the squadron are treating life itself, because I wonder if not only because of the situation that we don't even know that they're in and how much war they're facing with just the broad hope of 129 days until my service ends, they are so unless they're on the cusp of death, it seems as if they are also ready to die, and because it's normal day-to-day life for them, they're in the midst of war, and obviously, other than the person having to pull the trigger to put that other guy out of his misery and the person in pain there, everybody else had the look on their faces like, this is normal, that we're dealing with this, but I would assume that it's like, okay, well, yeah, it's normal, and they unfortunately are in this way of thinking now that they're desensitized to it, but and it matches up with the disdain they have for the commanders. But what's really interesting to me is like how what are they going to do with that feeling? Like in terms of each of them having such a disassociation with the way of life and war and death amongst one another. Will the inclusion of somebody like Lena make it harder and
for them to live their day-to-day
Yeah.
lives and be kind of so like you're saying, like, how could a group of people be able to find the laughter and the happiness and the connection and the friendship while also having to during the day go out onto the battlefield and possibly watch the inevitability of your friends dying? How could you then go home and be laughing with the survivors and eating with them and
like
continuously becoming friends with them?
No, and like that I get. And what I'm trying to say is like that of course makes complete sense, but it's going to be super interesting when part of that thing that they have is like, okay, let's come together, let's draw like this caricature of this figure, all these people that we fucking hate. Once a person is 1 out of 6 and the first time that you're experiencing something that makes you like feel like you can't characterize them as this, how will that bleed into other aspects of their lives?
I was about to get into that.
Sorry.
It's okay. I was about to get into that idea of like, what would that do to them if they start hearing compassion or pity or things like that? Like, will it make them have to look at things in a way that they've, in order to cope or survive, kind of kept themselves from thinking? They have a common enemy right now, and that is kind of bringing them together. It's almost like they are being fueled by, it's because like they're in this war, it's like, but they're being fueled not by having an enemy in whoever they're fighting, but in an enemy in whoever has put them in this situation. And that's where they're able to find the camaraderie and the revelry and the laughter and the companionship is in this common hatred that someone else put us here.
Yeah.
And once they start humanizing the thing that they have been trying to dehumanize in the same way that the people in the 85 districts have been trying to inhumanize them in order to cope with the fact that they're sending actual humans into war, that is going to bleed over. It seems like we're going to have the same situation on both ends.
Yeah.
Of like, in order to cope, in order to have things run more peacefully and more efficiently, we've had to kind of make this idea that the other group is lesser or not human in order to continue on with our day and whatever we have to do. We've had to create a distinction there, and it's going to be changing through this auditorial relationship that's going to be built.
So Uncle Jerome didn't seem necessarily like awful, and he gave us this promotion, and it's obviously a dangerous promotion as given the track record. We're reminded that Vaclav, our dad, our main character's dad, had died, but also had a similar disposition as Lena. And then we're given just, again, the confirmation, you're great, you're the youngest person who's been here.
Become a major.
And you brought up the idea during the episode, like, are you trying to get her killed? What potential negative to their current military system or society could be bred from having somebody like Lena continue to live within other, squadrons of people and continue to humanize them? Like I'm imagining the squadron that Lena's moving on from. Does her way of talking to them breed what this society like categorizes as like a negative because of like I don't know, like, do you get what I'm saying?
I think I do. I think that what you're trying to get at is like, why would we be wanting to get rid of her?
Yeah.
What could she breed that some would view as a negative?
Okay, so people, I'd assume the higher ups in this world would view it as a negative if they are losing the war, losing out on money, losing out on fights. There's potential within the squadrons, like uprising of different viewpoints. Something is becoming less efficient and effective for them. What about Lena and her dad would make it so that these squadrons are less efficient?
So one thing you can go to is that we did bring up at the very beginning of the episode that the video report we were seeing from the military HQ could have been more of a propaganda video.
Mm-hmm.
Not just because they were calling the Empire that they were fighting wicked, but also because they were saying no human fatalities. That actually tells us nothing of how the war effort is going. We actually, as a viewer, don't really know how well our side is doing, but yet all of the characters are saying we're winning, we're going to be done in 2 years. You know, the squadron of the Spearhead Squadron think they're going to be out of service in 129 days.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is having maybe a more positive outlook. If someone is more connected to the battlefield, they might have a better idea of what's actually happening. There's that idea. The idea of Vaclav having these ideals that are similar to Lena, and why someone would want to get rid of her is because obviously she's talented. She's like her father. Her father was able to lead effectively, and she's able to make major at such a young age, but she has these ideals that could derail the peace that people are feeling. If you have someone grow in power and leadership that is humanizing those that for an effective war effort you are having to dehumanize, that is not going to be someone you want to keep around, because you don't want other people to start talking or thinking like her. Because then how are handlers going to do their jobs effectively? The handlers need to think when they're hooked up and leading as commanders, leading their fleet of drones. They need to have that separation in order to not let their emotions come into the room with them, you know, to effectively lead this military offense or defense. And if you start to bring human emotions, then that really could make their military less effective. It could make the leading of their military and how well certain battles go against the Empire less positive on our end, because we might want to make a choice that actually saves the lives of drones instead of, you know, a choice that might have them be sacrificing themselves in order to win a battle.
Yeah. Can I say, oftentimes when we get like into the first episode of new series, I feel like I often make ridiculous, crazy, outlandish predictions that I try to lean into, like the idea that it's going to be a harsh prediction because it's probably going to I'm stupid and probably going to end up way off. And can I say mine? I think Vaclav was the first commander of this division. In timestamp 1620, we're given like the characters of all the past commanders or handlers, sorry, but just coincidentally, this brunette is covering the first handler. Real talk, I don't know if it is Vaclav. It probably isn't, but I wonder what the reason for not visually showing the first handler, I keep mixing up commander and handler, sorry, but what the reason for not showing a depiction of them right now would be.
I do like the idea that if Lena already has these ideals, that we are kind of teetering at the idea would be kind of taught to the handlers through having to command this squadron. It could be that her father either was born like her having these ideals, or she got them from him and he had to get them from somewhere. You know, we don't know how long this war has lasted, how long this idea of the separation between these districts, but I feel like it has to have been a while for the kind of disassociativeness to be so effective. To have them be seen as inhuman and be drones and not real people, I feel like there needs to have been a long time that this has been the way of life.
Yeah.
In order to like have whoever remembers the days before be either old or already dead. So that would lead me to believe, like, obviously Lena had to learn this thinking from somewhere because of the fact that, like, she is following in her father's footsteps and she's surrounded by people who think other than her. she had to have been kind of taught or told by someone who knew a time before when we did view these people as human, or could at least have already connected to these people and realized it themselves. And so I do like the idea that her father had interaction with the Undertaker, the Reaper.
Yeah. Five colored flags, definitely interesting. Do you think that, like, we get on the weather forecast, like, one island? Do you think that's that's their entire country and it's just, like, waterlocked? Or do you think that's just one part of a place for some of the 85 districts?
So yeah, that's really interesting because like, why would you show a map if the map in the landscape was not actually important to understanding how this battle is taking place? How are we fighting in giant like robot mech suits that have spider legs if we're surrounded by water?
Well,
How is there an attacker? Like, are they on a ship first and then they're dropped on the land? Can they go underwater? Can they swim?
My like initial like thought was, okay, everybody within the community of people with white hair are safe on an island. Everybody else is a water channel away.
Interesting.
And
so the battle might even be happening literally actually somewhere else.
And this like society has like it is thriving on the fact that they are that far removed from war.
Interesting.
Like they are that far away from it.
I mean, that would help with how they really as a community do seem to all collectively have a hive mind with how they think, and they all have white hair.
And also they take medicine every morning with their breakfast. There's a little tray for it on top of a plate, which tells me that it's not just a family thing or specific person thing, because it's so ornate and functional within the plate setup that this is something every member of the community does.
Do you want everyone to look the same on purpose? Like, do you take a pill that whitens your hair? That'd be crazy.
I don't know.
Because how do you get everyone here to look so drastically different than everyone in the squadrons? Unless this has been hundreds and hundreds of years of, like, mixing until everyone ended up having the dominant traits of white hair and the bluish eyes. It could be... the pills is weird. Why does she have a thing of pills in front of her breakfast? I don't know. Why would you have to include
I definitely
that
noticed
unless
it, as well,
it was important? Like,
if I dye my hair white in the coming weeks, it is not because of 86.
It's because he was already talking about it.
But now it's going to be like you dyed your hair white because of 86 and you want to be a part of these people. Like, yeah, these fucked
handlers,
up. Yeah.
Ruined. Lilies are her dad.
Yeah.
She was saluting her dad. Which obviously furthers her being happy that her Uncle Jerome is identifying that she's similar to her father.
I love that Shin like carved out the drawing on the
yeah, and then he writes
drone.
Their name on it, which makes me happy. They have like chosen names.
There was a shot of Shin looking at a book next to the doll that said pig on it, and like he was writing in it. I thought that was fascinating because like we obviously get Lena writing in a book.
Oh, is he writing in it?
Or writing in it or reading it or recounting it. I don't know, but there's attention brought to that. I wonder if that's going to come back up.
He seems to like books because he even has a refrigerator that he's converted into a bookshelf.
True.
That is intriguing. I think you had brought this up during the discussion, but then you had had another point after it, so we didn't have a point where it was talked about further. And that is Annette... We don't think Annette is lying when Annette is saying that we only do the voices and we shouldn't do more because it could have like ill effects on the brain.
Correct. Yeah.
But is it really that it would have ill effects on the brain physically or like the mental state? Because if you could visually see these things, yeah, it would be harder to handle. And so that makes me think that some point they might have tried that, and then they realized to have a more effective, like, it might have been the original way the war started, was that these links could have that, which tells me that maybe possibly later on in the story, we will do that.
Interesting. I like that.
Like, why would that be brought up unless it's like explaining why it's
like,
only voices?
Vaclav tried to do it and it didn't like work out well or something. He tried to like make that link closer. The idea that like they don't have certain resources isn't something that's like gives me a lot to work with in terms of trying to like theorize or understand the world, because it's 2148. So a lot of things could have made it so certain resources weren't available in terms of like the baking and the cooking and the chiffon
and
cake.
we're an island, so
Yeah.
and if we're in war, then it's kind of probably hard to trade with other places.
Yeah. I'm into it though. I've never watched anything like this.
I'm into it, but I'm very scared emotionally. Like, we have watched shows on this channel that have had battles and characters that are fighting in those battles that I end up getting emotionally attached to and don't want them to die. And then I'm gonna have to see them die, and I don't want that.
I like the people who were
And
serving
the
food were
horses.
wearing masks of
Masks.
teddy bears, chickens, and horses. That was a vibe.
Yes.
All right,
Okay.
that's all I have you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.